I'll call to order this October 7th, 2024 Select Board meeting. And notify everybody that Chelmsford Telemedia is broadcasting this meeting live and is recording it for later rebroadcast. If you'd all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start this evening with public service announcements. I guess we can start with that first one since she's not here.
So we have an announcement from the Chelmsford Historical Commission. The Historical Commission invites you to a special event, Meet Your Ancestors. It will be held on Sunday, October 27th at 6:30 p.m. at the Forefathers Cemetery. Every 10 minutes, a group will begin their walk guided by our grave diggers. And although the event is free, attendees must pre-register. For reservations, call Linda Prescott at 978-250-1763. Next, we have an announcement from the clerk's office. Harrison.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Harrison Maya. I'm the Departmental Support Coordinator for the Town Clerk's Office. I'm here to provide a quick update regarding the November 5th general election. To date, approximately 9,000 ballots have been sent out for vote by mail, including 5,204 in one day. Absentee in-person voting is available through November 4th at noon in the town clerk's office if you're going to be out of town on the date of the election. The voter registration deadline is October 26th at 5 p.m. You can check your voter registration status and register to vote online at chelmsfordma.gov/vote. In-person early voting will begin October 19th and run through November 1st. Weekend hours are from 1 to 5 p.m. and weekday hours will be regular town hall office hours. The vote by mail application deadline is October 29th at 5 p.m. A new official ballot drop box has been installed in the front of town offices near the handicap parking spots. Completed mail-in ballots must be returned to the town clerk's office by 8 p.m. on election night. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact our office. Thank you.
So Harrison, are there any sample ballots posted on the website yet?
We do have them on the website and also hanging on a board outside the town clerk's office. It's a red and white, a red and blue board right outside our front door.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Next, we have an announcement regarding the Chelmsford Annual Holiday Prelude and Tree Lighting, which will be held on Sunday, December 1st from 4 to 6 p.m. The Holiday Decorating Committee is looking for help on December 1st from the 2 to 7 p.m. to set up and take down for the event and help with activities. Please contact Vivian Merrill at 978-973-9596 if you would like to help. Next, we have a proclamation regarding Indigenous Peoples Day on October 14th, 2024. Whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas, and whereas the United States endorsed the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People on December 16, 2010, and whereas the town of Chelmsford recognizes the historic, cultural, and contemporary significance of Indigenous peoples of the lands that also became known as the Americas, and whereas the town of Chelmsford recognizes it was founded and built upon lands first inhabited by Indigenous peoples of this region and acknowledges and honors these members of the community, and whereas the town of Chelmsford values the many contributions made to our community through Indigenous peoples' knowledge, labor, technology, science, philosophy, arts, and the deep cultural contribution that has shaped the character of the town. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Chelmsford, do hereby proclaim the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples' Day. And we have someone here.
Jen, do you want to
Take the
accept the proclamation? Yes. Do you want to tell us about the celebration?
Yes.
Perfect.
Hi, thank you to Chair Wojcik and board members Crocker Timmons, Drew, Maloney, and Dixon. On behalf of the Chelmsford Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, please allow me to express our heartfelt gratitude to you for issuing a proclamation recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day in our community. This decision not only honors the rich cultural heritage and contributions of Indigenous peoples, but also acknowledges the historical truths that are often overlooked. It is an important step towards healing and fostering greater understanding and respect within our community. By making this proclamation, the Select Board has demonstrated a commitment to inclusion and equity, helping to amplify Indigenous voices and ensure their histories and stories are valued. This decision encourages meaningful conversations and educational opportunities for all residents, allowing us to better understand our shared history and responsibilities. Thank you again for your thoughtful leadership and for recognizing the significance of Indigenous Peoples Day. Your support of this important day is a reflection of our community's values and our dedication to creating a more just and inclusive future. I'd like to also take this opportunity to invite everyone to attend Chelmsford's first annual Indigenous Peoples Day celebration. The celebration will take place this Saturday, October 12th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the Town Common. The event runs alongside the final Market on the Common of the season. In addition to our regular market vendors, there will also be performances by the Greater Lowell Indian Cultural Association, a Makana war dance, and a gratitude prayer performed by descendants of Taino Indians. Our keynote speaker is Chief Tom Eagle Rising Libby, an active member of the Greater Lowell Indian Cultural Association, and he quotes himself, amateur historian of the Aboriginal peoples of the Eastern Woodlands. We'll also have educational booths with games and giveaways, so come on down, check us out, enjoy the performances, play some games, and walk away with some freebies. Everybody's welcome. Lastly, thank you to our sponsors, Enterprise Bank, Community Teamwork, and Middlesex Community College for helping to make this celebration possible. And thanks to our planning team, Bill Campbell, Beth Piokos, and Carly Ream from the DEIC, Francis Gonzalez, Philly Marty, Tanisha Scott, and Sophie Thiem from Enterprise Bank, and Chief Tom Eagle Rising Libby from Gleeka. As you can see, this has been a true community collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have an announcement from the Chelmsford Health Department regarding their influenza vaccine clinics. Those will be held at the Chelmsford Town Hall Gymnasium, October 10th from 3 to 7 p.m. and October 15th from 11 to 1 p.m. or 3 to 6 p.m. It's open to adults 19 years and older. Pre-registration is preferred. For questions or to register, you can call the Chelmsford Health Department at 978-250-5241. And related, we have an announcement regarding free in-home flu vaccines for homebound residents. If you or if your loved one finds it difficult to leave the house to get their flu shot, you can call the Chelmsford Health Department to schedule an in-home vaccination today. The Health Department is also holding a walk-in flu clinic every Wednesday from October 2nd through December 18th from 2 to 4 p.m. And that's at 50 Billerica Road, and it is open to anyone who is 19 plus. Also from the Health Department, we have an announcement about their free program called Creative Connections. It's open to parents and children, high school aged youth and their parent, I apologize. And it is October 1st or October 15th from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. Pairs will create collages, choose photos, materials, exchange in meaningful conversation, and shared experiences. For questions, you can call the Health Department at 978-250-5241. And we have an announcement from the DPW regarding their sewer smoke testing project that begins October 7th, Monday. Beginning on Monday, October 7th, the DPW will be conducting smoke testing of portions of the town's sewer system. A smoke test survey will be conducted to assist with locating breaks and defects in the sewer system. The smoke you may see coming from building vent stacks, building roof leaders, the ground, or manholes is fog-like, non-toxic, non-staining, has a faint odor, is white to gray in color, and creates no fire hazard. The listing of streets included in the project area are provided in this PSA, and door hangers with additional project details will be distributed approximately 24 to 96 hours ahead of the planned testing. For more information, you can see the town's DPW website, or you can call the DPW at 978-250-5233. And the DPW would like everybody to know that there is no need to be home during smoke testing. No one will enter your house or building. Residents and pets may remain in the house during this testing. And the smoke should not enter your home unless you have defective plumbing. If smoke does enter your house, you may contact the DPW for additional assistance. That's all I have. Thank you. Sorry, also from the DPW. The DPW is seeking contractors for snow plowing for the 2024-2025 winter season. The town of Chelmsford is offering $1,500 incentive payment for each vehicle or piece of equipment registered with the town. And all completed application packages are due Monday, October 21st.
And we have a couple of announcements related to the strategic plan development for the town of Chelmsford. We're developing a community-based strategic plan. There are a couple of ways that the public can provide input. One is through the Social Pinpoint website, where you see the QR code and the website address. There's a survey online you can take. You can also provide any other ideas that you want to the ideas wall, or engage in an online discussion with your community peers. The second way you can participate, this week the committee is holding 3 community forums. The first is Tuesday, October 8th at the Chelmsford Center for the Arts from 9 to 10:30 a.m. The second is Wednesday, October 9th at the North Hall Community Center, and that's from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And the third is Thursday, October 10th at the Public Library from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Next up, we have a couple of announcements regarding the proposed fire station construction projects. These fire station construction projects will be a topic at town meeting and also will be on the November 5th ballot. There's an announcement here that provides more information about the proposed reconstruction of Engine 3 located on Old Westford Road, and of Engine 5 located on Acton Road. There are a number of other opportunities for you to get information. There's some events listed and also a website. And in addition to that, on the next announcement, we have a informational session that the Fire Station Study Committee is hosting this Thursday, October 10th at 7 o'clock. That will be at station number 3 at 260 Old Westford Road. So there'll be some overview information for the public, and then you'll have a chance for open Q&A. And if you are coming to that, we just ask that you park in the lot adjacent to the station at Roberts Field. Thank you.
Okay, and I noticed that somebody just came in that wanted to give our first PSA. So Linda Prescott, if you'd like to repeat it, you can do that.
Thank you. I was told to be here at 6:30. But anyway, as
That's
we
when
all
we're
know.
going to be done.
Pardon me?
That's when we're going to be done tonight. Just kidding.
As you all know, we're getting to the time of year where the veil between the living and the dead is lifted and the dead come through and visit us. This year, the Historical Commission has heard a lot of whispers and gravestone rattling because there are some that have some serious tales to tell. For our 250th anniversary, the U.S. Park Service has asked historical commissions to celebrate people that made a difference in our country's history. And we've got them. So they're ready to tell their tales. And it will be Sunday night, October 27th, starting at 6:30. Every 10 minutes, we'll be sending out a tour group with a grave digger, and they'll have a guided tour of the cemetery and meet these awesome people. So we're inviting everybody. There have been flyers posted around, and actually I've got some reservations already. And there's a number on the flyer that you can call to make your reservation. There are some rules. We're allowing children up to the age of 9 to come in, or 9 and older. And they must be really kind of under control of their parents. It is a cemetery, so we do expect manners, like no jumping up and down and screaming and that kind of thing. Cemeteries, just by their nature, are dangerous because they're footstones and headstones. We do our very best to mark them, keep them safe, and that's why you have a grave digger. And we just hope everybody will join us, or as many that can, and learn something. It's a fun way to learn. So I'm just inviting all of you, anybody that's watching the broadcast tonight, and Paul, you should join us. Really. Yeah, and I see some other people that should join us too. Pat.
I would love to, but my children are not that well behaved. They would jump over.
You don't have to bring your children. Last time we did this, a gentleman came up to me a few weeks later and said, it was interesting, he said, I'd like you to see these pictures. And he had his camera with him, and he snapped a picture of the tombs, up in the back behind the schoolhouse. And he said, when I was looking over there, nobody was there. He goes, I took the picture, and there is somebody sitting on the wall. Don't know. Wasn't in the other picture, and you could see they were stamped. So I don't know. It could be a very interesting evening. So I hope you can will join us. My name is on the flyer. The flyer, I guess, is already posted on the town site. It's also posted on the Garrison House, the Historical Commission page, the Society. It'll be at the library. So we're getting it out. And Tom Cristiano, our town crier. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're now to the public input portion of our meeting. Is there anybody here that would like to address the board on any topic? Okay, doesn't look like it. Nobody on Zoom. Okay, committee vacancies.
The following boards and committees have vacancies as of October 7th, 2024. The CCA Town Hall Advisory Committee, the Center Village Master Plan Implementation Committee, the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee, the Commission on Disabilities, the Community Action Program Committee, the Conservation Commission, the Cultural Council, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, the Historic District Commission, the Holiday Decorating Committee, the Parade Committee, the Personnel Board, the Public Records Advisory Committee, the Recycling Committee, the Roberts Field Advisory Committee. If you are interested in serving on a town board or committee, please complete an online application available on the town website, or you can contact the town manager's office for more information.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a public hearing this evening for change of manager, ownership interest, liquor license manager, and hours of operation for Tapatio Restaurant, which is also the Mexican restaurant that I can't pronounce on Summer Street. I assume you two gentlemen are here for...
Yeah, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Andrew Sproul, and I'm here to represent Herradura Vieja in this application for multiple amendments. As you said, they're seeking to change ownership interest, liquor license, and LLC manager, and hours of operation. And I'm here to answer any questions that the board might have, address any concerns, and ask the board to act favorably on the application. And I have the Guillermo Bravo Meza, who is the principal and is the new LLC and liquor license manager proposed.
Okay, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been doing and how you've been doing? And
Yeah, this business is going well. It has been a business operated by sort of a close group of family members since its outset in 2017. And there has, been a change in ownership due to contributions from these family members. And again, we just think that the application speaks for itself and would ask the board to act favorably upon it.
okay, does anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant?
Could you just speak to the change in hours? You're changing your opening from 11 to 9. Are you serving breakfast now, or?
Are we going to serve breakfast? The menu will not change despite the early hour that we're requesting for opening.
Okay, and you'll be offering alcohol at that hour also?
We will.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to comment or ask questions about this application? Does not appear so. Anybody on Zoom? Okay. You want to have a motion?
I will make a motion to
Close.
close the public hearing. Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is there any further discussion about this application? Okay. We'll take another motion then.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for the change of LLC manager, ownership interest, liquor license manager, and hours of operation on the all alcohol beverage restaurant license for Tapatio Restaurant, 2 LLC DBA Herradura Vieja at 7 Summer Street, Unit 3, as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, board members. And can I just say, James Garrity of the Select Board's office has been very helpful throughout this, and we appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Good day.
Okay, next up, we have the approval of the order of layout and plan for Parkhurst Road that we talked about at our last meeting, and it went to the planning board, and they returned a unanimous approval of, a unanimous endorsement of that order of layout. Are there any further questions about Parkhurst Road and its layout before we vote on this and take it to town meeting? Okay, looks like there's not. Do we have a motion?
Should just read this.
You can do that.
The Select Board of the Town of Chelmsford, acting pursuant to General Law C 82, 21-24, having deemed that common convenience and necessity require the layout of Parkhurst Road as a public way, hereby lays out the roadway as a public way to include within the layout the parcel of land shown as Parkhurst Road on a plan entitled Street Acceptance Plan, Parkhurst Road, Chelmsford, Massachusetts, dated September 11th, 2024, prepared by WSP USA, Inc. The aforementioned plan is hereby forwarded to the town clerk for filing, and the foregoing layout is hereby reported to the town for acceptance. I have to make a motion to.
That should do it. That's a good motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. All right, next up, we have a warrant for the November 5th town election. That's not a town election, it's a state election. It's considered a state election. Are there any questions about this warrant? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant for the November 3rd state election as presented.
Second.
November 5th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There may have been mistypo.
Oh, thank you. That's just on the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the warrant for the November 5th state election as presented.
Second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Thank you. Okay, next up, reports and presentations. Weston and Sampson.
Yeah, Paul McKinley is joining us on the Zoom this evening, and he has a
Okay.
presentation for you, and you have other materials in your packet. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening.
Okay, it's all yours, Paul.
Perfect this presentation. Yeah, thanks so much. So, Colin asked me to come in and just give a brief update on where we are with the remediation at 54 Richardson Road. So, got about a dozen slides here. Thanks for. Yeah. Here's the first slide up here is the site, just to refresh everybody's memory of what we're looking at here. So, to the north is the dog park area. of the site I'll be referring to. The two blue dots around the structure there, those are two bedrock wells. The northern dot is actually near our source area, our recovery well, just to sort of orient everybody. And groundwater actually flows sort of right to left on your page. So it flows in a westerly direction towards the North Chelmsford Water District. So I just threw this slide up here with this figure just to orient everybody of some of the key site features I'll be talking about. So with that, if we go to the next slide, perfect. So we actually, just hot off the presses, got the August data back. We sampled 20 some odd wells. We also sample Coldstreams Brook, and the data overall, this is it's very favorable. I was in May to give you a little bit of a deeper dive, and this data is continuing that trend. We've installed a pump and treat system, which began operation on July 5th, 2022. And since then, we've pumped and treated about 97 million gallons. And really, the system's been operating fairly flawlessly. It's only been down a few times. We've had no exceedances, with the effluent, which is good news. So the system's really been doing as it was designed. The concentrations of PFAS, they're still present in a lot of the wells, and we've talked about some of the PFAS. Or the forever chemicals that's the contaminant on the site is still present in a lot of wells, and we feel a lot of that is likely due to background or other sources. But we do have a source in front of the structure there, as I alluded to. The blue dot that was to the north of the site structure is one of our source areas. And we track that along with the dog park and what's happening in North Chelmsford Water District. So the dog park area is one of concern. It has actually a little bit of a different signature source than some of the other PFAS that we're seeing in the source area. But nevertheless, the concentrations there have actually been decreasing. So for the last 3 seasonal rounds, last 3 quarterly rounds, has actually been below the current Mass DEP standard for PFAS, which is PFAS 6 compounds, which is 20 parts per trillion. So really good news there, and looks like the concentration in the dog park have been stabilizing. And we watched this very closely because DEP was concerned with the alternate source and some higher concentrations earlier in the investigation. And the thought was we might have to expand the remedial system to that area, but based on 3 rounds and counting below current standards, that's taken a favorable trend. One of the other areas that we key in on is MW1, or monitoring well 1. This is one of the very first wells that were monitored and was one of the highest on the site, or actually is the highest historically on the site. Our maximum was 1,417 parts per trillion, and it was 1,181 in May of 22, right before we kicked on the pump and treat system. Currently, as of August, it's down to 11.2. So I didn't do the math there, what percentage decrease that is, but it's been below standards, the Mass DEP current standard of 20 parts per trillion for the last 3 rounds. So you can see, from 1,400 down to below 20 in the last 3 rounds, really significant progress. So we're very happy with that.
Excuse me,
and
Paul.
Yeah.
So the graphic's a little fuzzy where the map is. I just wanted to make sure. MW1 is right next to the blue bedrock by the buildings. Okay.
Yeah, the blue dot on the northern portion right there is very close to MW1 and our recovery well too.
Thank you.
Paul?
Yep.
That 20 parts per trillion, is that changing?
It is, yeah. I do address that later on my slide. So
Okay.
give me a few minutes and I'll get there what that means.
Thank you.
So yeah, just a few graphs here. We throw up a few graphs to present the overall trends. This is in the treatment area near that MW1 is the blue line there that peaked up at 1,400, and you can see that since the remedial system was kicked on in July of 2022, the concentrations really have been dropping off. So there still is a discussion about what the treatment end goal will be. At some point, the release that occurred at 54 Richardson may be addressed, and then we may be left with background. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the presentation. If you're able to go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is, again, just another area here. This is the off-site wells as they leave the site and go into the North Chelmsford Water District. We plot out what those concentrations are. And you can see this one has a little bit of a different scale, so you can see the continuing overall downward trend. The green there, MW 119, took a little bit of an upward blip last round. We think this is an anomaly, but you can see the overall trend here in a decreasing fashion from when we started the system, again, back in July 2022, and it's been steadily decreasing overall. If you look at the trends, and if you plotted out the average of those, you'd see that the trend is really decreasing towards the 20 parts per trillion current Mass DEP standard. One more here. This is again the dog park area. The blue well here, MW 104, was the one that really keyed concern at the initial phases of our investigation. It took a little of a blip in May of 2023, but since then it really has been decreasing, as have the other wells in that area. So again, overall, very positive news. Last meeting when I was in May, I believe a resident had asked, and we did prepare a risk assessment about the use of the irrigation well over in the dog park, understanding that the grass over there isn't optimal for our four-legged furry friends. So we want to take a closer look at the data now that we have some seasonal data and see if it would be advantageous to turn that well back on. So the good news is that it is safe for the dog park to be used. There's no risk from current soil exposure. We have done sufficient soil sampling over there. So I just wanted to reemphasize right at the top, there's no issue with currently using the dog park as a place for our pets to get out there and stretch their legs. But from the groundwater perspective, we still got a little bit of work to do. So as looked at the last graph, we weren't quite at that 20 parts per trillion threshold, but we certainly were heading in that direction. So again, the concentrations are decreasing, but currently if we turn on the irrigation well, it would likely cause a risk to receptors there. And interestingly enough, the way the risk assessors do it is they equate a 38-pound dog to a child park visitor who, of course, the human data is what we use to calculate risk. But it's anomalous with a 38-pound dog. So either way, not quite there yet with the groundwater quality over the dog park. But that our goal, of course, is to clean this up to acceptable standards for everybody. And the hope is that we'll be able to kick that irrigation well on in the near future.
Excuse me? Paul, we've had
Yes.
a request for lights in the dog park, which would extend the hours. I don't know, would that have any effect? I'm just wondering, would that give us more risk, whatever? I'm just...
You said lights, right? Lights for...
Lights, so which would extend the hours, like 3-4
Yeah.
hours a night.
Yeah, no, absolutely. From my technical standpoint, lights, no issue whatsoever. It's just a matter of managing soil.
What I mean by that is, excuse me, I'm sorry. Just means that there would be that many more dogs, another 3 or 4 hours of dogs per day, which is probably no problem, but I'd like to hear it from you so that when we do make a decision on that, we have weighed that already.
Yeah, no, the frequency of use is a factor we looked at during the risk assessment. So the amount of dogs really wouldn't affect the conclusion. They wouldn't pose a risk for them using the park.
Thank you.
Currently.
Thank you.
Yep. So I guess that's a little bit of a snapshot of where we are currently. Just wanted to give you a little preview of what's upcoming. So our remediation case here is really dictated by the regulations, the Massachusetts contingency plan, and there is a very big milestone coming up in December 10th. It's called a phase 2 comprehensive site assessment. So we've been doing, really the last few years of work have really been gearing up to file this report. As part of it, and we gave you a preview in May, we've really been looking at the sourcing of the PFAS that's present out in the site, determine what's a result of a release that occurred at 54 Richardson, but also some more regional and background sources of PFAS. So really one of the major portions of that report is looking at the likely sources of PFAS, and a detailed presentation will be provided in that. As part of that, we touched on this a little bit in May. We look at the ratios of the different PFAS compounds. The major compound that's associated with the release from 54 Richardson is called PFOS, P-F-O-S, and we're really doing a deep dive and looking at the source. Part of the other upcoming activities, the regulations the regulatory standards for PFAS in Massachusetts is going down. So I'll hit on that a little bit on a slide or two coming up here, but EPA has weighed in on this and have decreased the based on the toxicity, decreased what's an acceptable contaminant level, and Mass DEP will have to respond accordingly to make a standard that's as protective as the EPA thresholds. And I have a slide on this coming up, but in order to do that, we are proactively upgrading the remedial pump and treat system. So we'll be adding some additional vessels to increase the flow rate, which will have the benefit of affecting, we feel it'll increase the radius of influence and start more proactively cleaning up or remediating the areas that include the dog park.
Paul?
So, yeah.
This is Virginia. When you say for the December report, the likely sources of PFAS will be presented, what different information are we getting now to inform that?
Yeah, we're actually looking at a lot of regional sources. So we actually have a PFAS expert on staff who's really been looking into nearby sources and data associated with that, and so it's really comparing our data to other sources that have been affecting other areas, in Chelmsford and beyond. So and comparing also against published literature as well. So it's a fairly complicated equation, but we hope to identify at least potential sources, but identify what isn't a source from some of the impacts that we are seeing.
And when do you expect to have the draft of that December 10th due date report done?
Yeah, we're aiming to have that done in mid-November to give everybody time to review it. It'll probably be towards mid to towards the last week of November, given the holiday of Thanksgiving. But our goal is to get it out before Thanksgiving for a review.
Thank you.
And if we could advance to the next slide, perfect. So I am a geologist, so I thought I would just share a little bit of the science behind that Phase 2 report, and not only of the sources that we look at, but also how it affects the subsurface. So the North Chelmsford Water District wells, 4 of the 6 are overburden wells, but 2 of them are bedrock wells. So in accordance with the MCP, we want to look at some of the aquifers, in this case the bedrock aquifer, and see if it's affected by what's on site. And so we actually drilled some bedrock wells, which are not easy to install, and then we did some downhole geophysical work to identify where what's in the subsurface and the bedrock, and identify where the water is actually flowing, and with the water presumably would be contaminants. And in this figure here, this is a diagram that shows some of the downhole geophysical testing that we did. Shows sort of optical, it's a camera view, a 360 sort of cutaway of the hole. We drill a circular about 3-inch diameter hole, and this is a camera view down the borehole, and what it does is it gives a picture of the 360 degree view. That's on the left hand side here, and then as we progress across, there's a optical televiewer. The line there, the graph, is actually a caliper test, how wide the hole is, and it picks up just fractures. And then interestingly enough, all the way on the right hand side, we actually pump the well, and you can see where water enters. The bottom line on all this is at about 66 feet, right at the bottom of the picture there, you can see, there's a fracture. You can see it in the, I wish I could point to it, but you can see it in the picture right at the bottom there. The caliper shows there's a widening, perfect. And then all the way over on the right there, you can see actually the water came in, that sort of red jog away from the blue on the last graph bar. That shows that water was entering at 66 feet. So we targeted a well there and have sampled it. And the good news is it doesn't appear to be that the bedrock aquifer is affected significantly on the site. So it's good news. It looks like the impacts are generally in the overburden aquifer that are on the 54 Richardson site. But I thought I'd share a little science here. I think I threw up another photo here. The second well, the one we had targeted near the source area. This is actually a picture as you go down the hole. It was pretty surprising. It was at the top of this picture, you can see the casing is sort of the blurry. We put it in steel casing, and it doesn't come so well through on the photos. But right below that, for about 2 feet, you can see this bedrock. It's a very competent, tight, hard bedrock. But then the 2 feet below that, you can see there's about a 2-foot fracture. It's wide open there. You can see the water in there, like rounded gravel. The water is flowing through there. And then poor water quality, that sort of sandy area below, that's where the borehole continued past this fracture. But very interesting. It produces a lot of water, and again, with the amount of water that's flowing through there, we're not detecting a lot of PFAS. So that's the good news. But thought I'd throw up a few slides of what we've been doing for the phase 2. It's not only characterizing the background and the types of PFAS, but also where it's located. This is I thought I'd just throw up here and give you a quick summary of the changes that EPA has issued that Mass DEP will need to adopt and be at least as protective, if not more protective, than these levels. And so just to point out, currently Mass DEP has a PFAS 6 standard of 20 parts per trillion. And what that is they've selected 20 PFAS compounds that are some of the most common and lumped them together. And so when you sum up the concentrations of those 6 compounds, that should be less than 20 parts per trillion. And that's the current standard. What EPA is moving towards is actual individual standards for some of the more common compounds. And then they're also doing sort of blended standards, as you can see at the bottom of this. Just of note here, the second line on this table, PFOS, PFOS. This is associated with the signature of the compounds that were released at the 54 Richardson site. So the standard wouldn't be a 20 parts per trillion in aggregate. It looks like our new sort of remediation goal line is going to be 4 parts per trillion for some of these compounds, PFOA and PFOS. I point out PFOS, the PFOS, because that's the primary contributor to the release or primary constituent of the PFAS that was released on 54 Richardson. And then, as I alluded to before, to address this, both the change in the standard and to expand the radius of influence, this is our current remedial system. We're going to add a couple more vessels here, and that'll allow us to, instead of running the system in series, sort of in line, we're going to run it in parallel, and we'll be able to run 2 treatment trains, and that'll allow us to increase our flow rate and our radius of influence to address, for instance, the dog park and any other sources of PFAS that may be present in the area. And I think that's my last slide. Again, overall, this is really, we're very happy with the way the remedial system has been performing. It's been just over 2 years since it was installed and started operating. And you can see, the concentration decrease in the source area from 1,400 parts per trillion down to 11 really is a very dramatic decrease. And the phase 2 report is coming up in December. We're doing a lot of work to prepare that. I feel like we'll have some better graphics to share after that report goes in, and look forward to coming and presenting to the board some of our findings.
Okay, thank you. Do any board members have any additional questions for Paul McKinley? Okay, I notice we have 2 representatives here from North Chelmsford Water District. Do either of you have any comments or questions if you want to come up to the microphone?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aurora Boss, and I'm the environmental engineer for the North Chelmsford Water District. And as you mentioned, Paul Pyries, the superintendent, is also with me this evening. I wanted to start off by saying thank you for facilitating the continual discussion between us and Weston and Sampson, and obviously your participation as well. And an additional thank you to Weston and Sampson for maintaining transparency of the data collection and putting together these presentations. I want to start off by referring back to a statement that you made earlier in the presentation regarding an anomaly in an increase in the data, the PFAS-6 concentrations in the wells. I reviewed the data that was included in the agenda this evening, and in approximately half of the wells, I noticed that there were actually increases in the PFAS concentrations from May 2024 to August of 2024. Because it is almost half of the wells, I was wondering if you could elaborate on how this would constitute an anomaly.
Yeah, sure. I mean, groundwater sampling and analysis, we are dealing with parts per trillion. So it's very, very low levels. We're dealing with, variations in, seasonal variations with groundwater levels, groundwater flow rate, and there's just some heterogeneity in the sampling process and analyses. Sometimes the laboratory won't achieve their their recoveries as they would like. So there is a little bit of variation in the data, and this is why we do data trends, and we look at the seasonal trends, but also over we have a couple years of data now, and as if we flip back to some of those graphs, I think I pointed out actually when I was going through the graph that there was if you go to the next one, I believe, right? So here is, again, we could focus in here on the green dots with MW 119. It does have a blip. I mean, it shows it's increasing, I think about 20 parts per trillion, pretty low levels. But if you look at the overall trend here, I think is probably best to focus on that you can see that when the remedial system kicked on in August of 2022, since then the concentrations have been decreasing, probably at least by half, just roughly looking by the eye on this graph. So there is a little bit of variations, and it's a challenge to sort of weed out the individual sampling results and look at the overall trend. But I feel like this graph and others show that the data overall is decreasing. We're making progress.
Sure, and of course, obviously given the scale, it can be difficult to see some of those minute details, which is why I referred back to the original data sets. I also wanted to ask on the subject of data, in some cases, for some of the wells, there was no new available data for the wells, despite having increases in PFAS-6 concentrations during the last sampling event in 2022. For example, WS-MW-109 went from 49.17 nanograms per liter to 77.34 and was never tested again. Could you please explain why this was not tested?
Yeah, absolutely. So in consultation with DEP, we put this in our status reports. After a while, we have 36 data points on the site, and as you know, we've also done several rounds of the individual North Chelmsford Water District wells. So that's 42 different points. Sampling and analysis of all those data points, it can be fairly expensive. So as we had more and more data, we actually were just using the data trends themselves and looking at what's key for us to track as we look at the performance of the remedial system. We move around some of the wells that we're sampling. So we have some key indicator wells, but in consultation with the hydrologist, we've moved away from MW109 because there's other key wells that we want to sample. I'd love to sample them all, but this is really, it becomes unnecessary and pretty expensive to monitor all of them. So that's, I guess probably your answer there. 109 isn't key, and yes, unfortunately, it did blip up a little bit. But as you can see, there is anomalies with some of this data. We look at the overall trends, and I believe we had sampled that well multiple times before we prioritized others.
Sure. So since you said that you move around the wells, would there be any plan potentially in the future to resample that well?
Yeah, absolutely, we can move towards that if we feel it's necessary. And this is, we established a monitoring well network with monitoring wells, surface waters, and piezometers, really trying to evaluate the nature and extent, including the sourcing and also to track the remedial system progress. So we absolutely could come back to it. We have not abandoned that well; it's still very viable. And if we feel from our data quality objectives we need to, switch over and start monitoring that, we certainly will.
Thank you. One final question, just to not get too technical this evening. The last time we were here, as you mentioned in May, we had one diagram that was a plume that kind of delineated the affected area. Do we have an updated version of that?
I'm glad you asked that. So I think I alluded to it, but as part of our phase 2 report, we're really trying to standardize all those figures. We've prepared probably about a half a dozen over the last few years of those maps. We refer to them as isopleth contaminant concentrations distribution maps, and they display graphically display the distribution of PFAS. I didn't present one here because we haven't generated a new one. In fact, what we are doing is revisiting all of them, and we are calculating new ones with the August data, but we're hoping to sort of standardize them and make them a time sequence. So my hope is that we can have a really cool graphic where we can show you, through a time lapse, how the plume has shrunk with the operation of the remedial system. That's my hope, and we're working on it right now, and we're hoping to get that as part of the phase 2.
I would certainly look forward to seeing that, so thank you.
Yeah, no, that's my goal, is to have that really neat time lapse there, and we can really demonstrate with the progress of the remedial system through that graphics. So that's
wonderful. Thank you. I'm hoping in the future, if we have any more technical discussions, maybe it'd be more appropriate to have a meeting, not to bore everybody on the board.
Yeah.
So that concludes my questioning. So thank you very much, and thank you again, Mr. McKinley. Thank you for your time.
Great questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I'll send you an email in about 20 minutes for the closed session later on this evening. Okay.
Okay.
Get to that.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up is Town Manager Bid Award.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just one item for bid award this evening. This has to do with the Hugo Lane pipelining installation. The DPW issued a request for bids for that project. There were 3 bids received on October 3rd, which was last Thursday. The lowest responsible bidder was In Situ Form Technologies out of Charlton, Mass. at a bid amount of $52,000. And our Public Works Director has experience with this company in a different setting. As also, the recommendations came in fine. It also falls within the project budget, which is $110,000. So we'd ask that the board confirm the award to In Situ Form Technologies. As you can see, the bids varied significantly. The second lowest bid was double that, and the third one was 4 times that. So it goes to show you
What drives that kind of variation?
it just shows you the bid climate is still unstable out there.
Yeah.
But we're confident with this company and the follow-up that this is a valid bid and again meets the budget for this project.
Okay, any questions? Okay, take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the town manager's bid award for the Hugo Lane drainage pipeliner installation in the amount of $52,000 to Instituform Technologies, LLC, as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Town Manager reports.
Yeah, just a couple of items on my report, so, sort of call it good news, I guess, for tonight. First one is the town, since our last meeting, the town has received a grant from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection for electric vehicles. Under their grant program for the incentives, we received an award of $22,500, which basically is $7,500 per vehicle for a total of 3 vehicles. This basically is to support the purchase of 3 electric battery charged full electric vehicles. This was known when we brought these to town meeting that we would likely receive these bid awards, so this, the award came through as promised, and so they'll be applied to the acquisition of the fleet vehicles that will be coming into the town. The next one is the state also announced, the Hilly Driscoll administration announced $12.4 million to improve road safety back at the end of September. And this really is an award to police departments. And it's really for highway and roadway safety. The town of Chelmsford was awarded $26,651.40. And that's going to go to, increased traffic enforcement, distracted driving, and those type of roadway safety projects. And then the last one that I wanted to note, and it was a suggestion of Select Board Member Virginia Crocker-Timmons, who's the liaison to the Age-Friendly Advisory Committee, is the committee has produced its 5-year progress report, and it really is a good story, and that talks about all the efforts.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, that's the end of the Zoom, of the committee in the 5 years. And in fact, copies of this report will be printed and made available to the town meeting reps as a handout for informational purposes at the October 21st fall annual town meeting. So again, great work by the committee, and just this report just sort of notes all the different focus areas, as well as a sort of a guide to future efforts by the committee. So I want to thank the committee for their efforts in putting out this report and, submit it to the state agency, and again, just ongoing success from the committee.
Okay, and you have an appointment.
Yeah, one appointment this evening, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, Matthew David Raman, for an unexpired 3-year term ending June 30th, 2026. And as you can tell by his extensive detail and his application, he's very well excited and qualified to join this committee, and I think he'll really be an asset to the community. And so again, I'd seek your confirmation of this appointment.
Okay. Any questions about the appointment? Okay, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the town manager appointment of Matthew David Ramon to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for an unexpired 3-year term ending June 30th, 2026, as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, and we have some meeting minutes. Our September 23rd meeting. Any comments, edits, corrections? Apparently not, so we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the Select Board regular meeting from September 9th, 2024, as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 5-0. Okay, very good. All right, we're up to Select Board liaison reports and referrals. George, Pat, Erin, Virginia.
Just a couple. I wanted to thank the Health Department for the town fair they put on 2 Saturdays ago, and the Health Department wants to thank everyone who had a booth and everyone who came to participate. It was a really great turnout and a really great community event, so thank you for that. Also from the Health Department, they are still conducting sober karaoke the second Friday of every month at the CCA from 7 to 10 p.m. And just one announcement from the Vinyl Square Strategic Action Plan Committee. They had their initial planning meeting for the Vinyl Square tree lighting. It's scheduled for Saturday, December 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. And they still need more help from residents. So if you're willing to help, please contact Joe Tierney at joseph.tierney4@gmail.com or Brian Creamer at brian.f.creamer@gmail.com. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a few notes. A couple of weekends ago, the Chelmsford Friends of the Library had their annual, or their semi-annual used book sale, and made almost $19,000 on that book sale. 2.5 days, so that was really exciting that they were able to do that. So thanks to everybody who came out and bought books. A couple of ribbon cuttings. The Lighthouse School had a ribbon cutting for their new Breakwater House, which is a new segment of their school up on Wellman Avenue. And yesterday, several of us were including Select Board Member Drew and Town Manager Cohen, are at Junie's Place up at Roberts Field. It was an absolutely amazing turnout and quite an amazing thing that they've done there at the playground, Junie's Place up at Roberts Field. So take your kids and check it out. And speaking of the Vinyl Square project, the MPO last month had an update on that project. The price has been adjusted to $7.2 million, and the bid is scheduled now for May of 2028. So it is on the tip, and highly unlikely it will leave the tip. So just want to let the Vinyl Square folks know about that. Okay, so that's all I have, so I'll take a motion.
I will make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss strategy with respect to potential litigation for the North Chelmsford Water District's PFAS claim, strategy with respect to potential litigation for alleged zoning violations at 13 Cathy Road, and to review of the executive session minutes, meeting minutes of September 9th, 2024, segments 1, 2, and 3.
Not to return.
And not to return.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. It's a roll call vote. George?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Virginia?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. It's 5-0. Okay, we are adjourned to executive session. Thank you.